Hello.
Hey, so how do I pronounce your name correctly? I've been trying to figure it out. Is it Bethan?
It's Bethan.
Bethan. Okay, with like a short A. Okay,
Yeah, most
gotcha.
people call me Beth though. That's fine. Either one.
So Bethan, where are you located at?
So I'm based just outside of Liverpool, which is in the north of England. You probably know them by the football club. That's what most people know about Liverpool. So yeah, it's about 3 or 4 hours north of London.
Gotcha. So it feels like every episode I start off talking about like the virus and everything. And with you guys, you just went, on like almost full lockdown, right? Last week or a week before that.
Yeah, so it's been a bit mad up here. We were kind of singled out for a bit as well. I don't know if you saw any of the news about Liverpool, the gym shutting. So a couple of weeks ago, they basically tried to put areas into different tiers. So there was like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 being the highest, dependent on sort of the number of cases and things like that. Liverpool got put into tier 3, and as a part of that, they closed the gyms down. So this was a couple of weeks before the national lockdown. But a lot of the gyms actually refused to close. There was a big sort of uproar, loads of drama, and petitions got started. There was one gym in particular, one guy called Nick, who is out of Body Tech on the Wirral. They were basically on the news. They were just talking about all the statistics on why like gyms, there was no sort of evidence behind why gyms should be shut. And they fought so hard for it. Loads of people were, supporting it. And a week later, the decision actually got overturned. So although we were still in tier 3, they decided that gyms were essential and they should stay open,
Wow.
which was great. So we were all excited, fought for that, got that overturned. But then 1 week later, they announced the national lockdown, so the gyms all shut again.
Wow. Okay.
So it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a few weeks. So I'm a personal trainer, so I work in a gym as well. My whole life is sort of based around it. So
Mhm.
it was like struggle 1 week and then happy the next, and then back to the lockdown. So we've been in the national lockdown for 2 weeks now.
Wow.
It's supposed to finish on December 2nd. Fingers crossed. Gyms can reopen then.
Yeah, I remember just a few weeks ago when we were supposed to do the show, and you were like, I can't because
Yeah.
I'm scrambling, like trying to figure things out. Was that when like they just said that they're gonna shut the gyms down and
Yeah,
you
so that was the second time that the gyms got shut down. Yeah, so we've technically, like, the gyms have been shut down 3 different separate times this year. So
so
hopefully this is the last one.
hopefully, right? With cases going up, I don't know though. So like what happened was originally when this whole thing started and all the gyms shut down, I scrambled to try to set something up in my home in my garage. So I've
Yeah.
got, some things going on. I'm like, okay, but then the gyms reopened. So I kind of stopped using it. And as I'm seeing the cases go up and everybody, talking about that, I'm like, oh, it's going back to,
Yeah, don't
shutting
sell
the
that
gym. So
equipment.
so I cleaned everything up and I'm waiting for the moment that they're like, hey, gyms are gonna be, shut down too. So at least I have something. What
Yeah.
about like you as far as like your clients and everything? We didn't talk specifically, but so when gyms are shut down, what do you do like in that kind of scenario?
So last lockdown was quite different to this one because obviously last time it was summer. It was, we had some decent weather still. I basically did what you did. I got loads of like weights and stuff. I was searching on Gumtree, on eBay, like just trying to get as much as I could. So I was training in the garden last lockdown. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was, on nice days, it was fine, it was sunny, and I had like quite a decent amount of weight. So I felt like I was in a much better position than a lot of people.
Mhm.
But some people literally don't have anything at home. Some people have, a couple of resistance bands, maybe a couple of dumbbells, that's about it. So all my clients, I did like tailored home workout plans, whatever they had, basically I would tailor their workout plans for that. This time around, I've done things a bit differently. So I actually decided I was going to start doing some free online classes. So I've been running those twice a day, just on Zoom. that people can just sort of like fly into the gym that I work in, and then people have just been sort of using that as a bit of, you know, something to do, and at least it's like creating a bit of a community spirit as well.
Yeah.
So I've been putting those on twice a day, and they're very different to how I normally train. Obviously, normally in the gym I lift really heavy, and I don't normally do much body weight or like hit. Maybe if I was on prep, but not in off season where I am now. So it's been quite a challenge. It's been a different style of training. Still excited to get back in the gym, obviously lifting heavy again, but I've quite enjoyed it. I've been trying to work more on like flexibility and mobility, and just see it as a different phase of training rather than be like, oh, I can't train at all because I'm not in the gym. I think, you know, if you've got that kind of excuse, then you're not going to get far in bodybuilding. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's it's interesting how like you have to adjust to these like major changes. And you know, it's what do you think as far as like you know, you could talk about your clientele, but a lot of people are very concerned now, you know, with economies and everything like that. Do you feel like people are less likely to hire a trainer or a coach at this time? Like, have you seen any kind of drop off in your clients or?
To be honest, I think, well, when the gyms reopened, so where the gym that I work in is in Liverpool City Centre, and there's quite a lot of students that go there. So I was picking up quite a lot of student clients, whereas I think most of it was down to the fact that they get given all these student loans and all the pubs and stuff were still shut. So they had all this extra money, they didn't really know what to spend it on. So it kind of worked out
from all the beers that they didn't buy.
Yeah, exactly. So I picked up a couple of clients from that. But I think people are concerned about their health as now more than ever. I think January is going to be a very interesting January, because normally it's a good time for trainers anyway, but I think this year in particular, I think people appreciate the gym a lot more than they used to as well. So
interesting.
It's different, but yeah.
Yeah, you make your adjustments, I guess. You roll with the punches. So these classes, these online free classes, I was going to ask you, how do you like conduct them? Are you just doing exercise and having people follow along with you, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so I basically wrote up like a timetable, so I'll have like set ones on set days, and I'll have one every morning at 10:30, and then one at 3 p.m. And then I also upload them onto like my Instagram and Facebook as well afterwards. So if people can't join in on the live classes, they can do them at home or whenever they can, whenever they've got time to do them. So it's sort of like half an hour long, normally 10 different exercises. People just sort of do them with me. So yeah, it's not just like me. It's not doing like me doing online PT, and I'm actually doing it with people and shouting at them to try and to get motivated and things like that. So yeah, it's been good to give me routine as well, as much as sort of helping people that are stuck at home too.
Interesting, very cool. So with regard to like your training and everything like that, so are you a competitor? Do you
I am,
compete?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what division do you compete in?
I have bikini, so yeah. I will be going for, so it'll be NPC, IFBB next year that I'll be going for, but I've done a couple of different federations. I was quite lucky because I already planned this year to have a full year off season. So I didn't have any shows put into place this year, which I was very grateful for, because I know a lot of people were on prep and then shows got cancelled, pushed forward, pushed back, and it must have been a horrendous year to be on prep. So I did 4 shows last year, and then I planned to take on a full year off and then come back next year. So I've just been in my off season. So
what federations were the 4 shows in last year?
So one was just a local one. I think they're called IFBA. They're just based in the UK. It was my first show. It's just like a little local show in Liverpool. And then my second and third shows were with a federation called UK BFF, which basically feed into IFBB Elite Pro. And then my last one was a federation called Miami Pro, which is more similar to sort of fitness model style, like WBFF style.
I just did a show recently with Judy Fitzgerald out of Ireland, and she just did like WBFF competition that was like all virtual. You just send in.
Ah, I saw that. Yeah.
So it was very interesting to me, like how you judge that, and how like just the process to go
Yeah.
through it. Like, what do you think about that? Would you be interested in something like that, or not really?
I don't think it would be for me. I can see. I think it's a really good idea. I think it's a good way to sort of keep people motivated and stuff. But I don't think you can replace show day and getting on an actual stage. I think there's just nothing like it, and
Mhm.
it would be very difficult to sort of compare people without having them next to each other. So I guess the judging would maybe seem a bit more subjective than if you were actually on stage, stood next to someone else. But that's just my preference. I just love this, show day and getting ready and being backstage and all that. So
Yeah, that makes sense. So you did 4 shows last year. You're in your like off season, I guess you could say. Like, what do you do in the off season? Like, what does your off season look like?
my off season doesn't really look that different to prep. I When I came sort of off stage last year, I knew that I wanted to be as sort of structured as I have been on prep. I think a lot of people, when they've come off prep and they try and just go back to eating normally, or if they've just done a couple of shows, and it's very difficult. And I think if you want to be in it for the long run, you've got to take your off season seriously. You've got to make sure that you're hitting your protein intake, your macros, training as hard as ever. That even on prep, nothing changes in terms of how much effort you put into training and nutrition. I think you got to tick all the boxes, be absolutely on point, whether you're on prep, you're on off season. So yeah, just more food, but still training as hard. Just keep trying to push the weights up, lifting heavy, enjoying every last second of it, really.
Mhm. So since you like to lift heavy, and I mean you're in bikini, which is like we could say, I guess, if with no disrespect, it's a smallest muscle mass type of division, right? That you can have. Do you ever think about possibly going like up a division, or you think you'll just stay in bikini for as long as you can?
Um, I think it's something I would consider later on in life, but I think I've still got a long way, even in bikini.
Mhm.
Some of the girls that are winning the pro shows these days have just got a crazy amount of muscle
Mhm.
compared to what they were like a couple of years ago. So I think I've still got a long way until I reach my full potential in terms of bikini. If it got to the point where you're going to get to a point with bikini where you have to stop training certain things. I mean, I don't train much like quads, or I don't train any chest or things like that. But if it got to the point where, say, I wasn't needing to train legs at all, or if it was getting to the point where my training, I wasn't enjoying it as much, then maybe I'd look to step up a class. But even going up, from bikini to like wellness or something, that's a crazy step as well. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I've definitely wouldn't say it's off the table, but it would be something like way in the future that I'd look at or consider.
Yeah, I mean, wellness would be the leg development would be tough, like because those girls generally have like much larger legs. So
Yeah, I mean, some of them got like some rival bodybuilders.
yeah, that's that's right. Yeah, I was thinking more of like figure. I thought that like that would be the next logical
Yeah,
transition if
yeah.
you get to that point. So do you have like a show in mind next year, or no, not really at this point? It's too
I know
early.
I want to do ones a bit later on in the year. Last year when I prepped, I did 2 shows in May, and then I reverse dieted, and then I prepped again, and then the finals was in like October, I think, as well.
Mhm.
So it was quite a long period of time that I was essentially dieting for. So I'd rather do like a cluster of shows closer together, so I'm not having to sort of reverse diet and then come back in.
Yeah.
There's only been 2 show dates released in the UK's Two Bros calendar so far, so I'm sort of wait to see what the calendar's looking like.
Yeah, hopefully we can have a situation where we can have more shows. Like it's the United States had more than I would have thought. But it's still a lot less than what they're usually have. And I don't know, I guess UK also just 2 shows for right now released. Hopefully it'll be more that you can attend. Hopefully they'll all be around the same date, so you don't have to just come off diet and then go back on. Yeah, it's a struggle, I'm sure.
I think as well, I'll probably like travel abroad to Europe. So there'll probably be quite a lot of European shows. I wouldn't mind doing as well. So yeah.
Yeah, bikini is interesting because there's so many bikini girls, and you also mentioned the fact that some of them are so muscular that sometimes I'll look on the pictures and I'm like, oh, this is a figure girl, right? It gotta be. And then they'll be like, oh, I'm in the bikini division. And I'm like, how's that even possible? So over the years, they've just gotten so much more muscular. Like you said, you've noticed that as well?
Oh, definitely. Like if you look back to bikini, like when it first started, it's just a completely different. I mean, you could just take a girl off the street, like stick her on stage if she was in shape, and then that'd be bikini. Whereas now it's completely different. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for bikini, I think, as one of the newer sort of categories. There's a lot can go on in it. Yeah.
So do you like that? Do you like the fact that they're getting more muscular?
Yeah, definitely. You can train harder.
Right. So like, have you noticed other divisions also getting that way?
I think bikini is the one I've paid the most attention to. So I mean, obviously wellness is quite new to ifbb. So it would be interesting to see how that sort of progresses over the next few years, and how the sort of difference between bikini and wellness sort of.
You said you pay attention to bikini. Have you been keeping up with like the Olympia champion from last year? I believe Elisa Piscini.
Yeah,
I think.
Piscini,
Yeah, and so what do you think? Bikini is hard to stay on top. Like it's one of those divisions, they rotate Olympia champions.
Oh yeah.
Fairly fast. Like you look at men's bodybuilding, I mean, they stay on top for 5 to 8 years, possibly. Bikini is like, if you win 2 in a row, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So what do you think as far as this upcoming year, actually coming up in December? Do you think she'll repeat, or will you have somebody else that you're kind of looking at?
It's so hard to tell, because I mean, you've got some girls like Ashley Cartwasser, who's been competing all year, and then you've got others who will literally only come on stage for that one show for the Olympia. So I think it's going to be a case of like, if anyone out of the top 10 win it, you wouldn't. I think as it is so close, because with bikini, obviously, it's all about the balance, and you can be too lean, you can be too soft, too muscular, not too muscular, and then it's all about the individual looks on each individual bikini competitor as well. So yeah, I mean, Issa Pacini's her shape is absolutely unbelievable. Like her lats, I think she's definitely changed the game for bikini in terms of like, before she won, I don't think a lot of bikini girls would have thought that big lats was a thing that you'd need.
Right.
A lot of girls like didn't really show it off that much, but yeah, I think her shape is absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one.
It's interesting you mentioned Ashley. I don't know if you kept up. Just about a few months ago, there was an issue where someone put up a post about how they were concerned, or a little ticked off, the fact that she was competing so much and taking like Olympic qualifications for people, even though she was already qualified. What's your view of that, just in general, that whole situation?
I think it's ridiculous. Like, what other sport would you complain about the top athletes competing? It just makes no sense whatsoever. I listen a lot to the Bikini and the Brain podcast as well, and I think they said on the last one that they've got like 44 bikini competitors at the Olympia this year, and that's like one of the biggest numbers they've ever had. So to accuse her of stealing people's spots is just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was so interesting. Like, I wish they would have never said that, because what it does is kind of devalue like bodybuilding, because like you said, what other sport, like nobody says, oh, LeBron James like won too many championships. Like, you can't, why is he playing again? That doesn't make any sense. So it was irritating a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, if you're concerned with her, taking qualifications, then just beat her. You know, if you
Yeah,
can't beat her,
exactly.
then what are
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
gonna do? So
Yeah, I mean, it would be an absolute honor to share the stage with her. So I don't know why anyone would. I mean, it's just people being sore losers, I think, to be
mhm,
honest.
for sure,
So
for
yeah.
sure. So how did you in general, like, you know, we talked about your training, we talked about your like views on bikini competitions, but how did all this start? Like, how did you get into fitness and training?
Um, I first saw a picture of someone competing, and it was years before I even had got back into the gym. So I'd been like sporty and athletic when I was younger, but I think I went to uni. I did a bit of Thai boxing, but that was about it. I wasn't really, didn't go to the gym that
Thai
often.
boxing, really? You did?
Yeah,
I did Muay
a
Thai
little bit
too.
Thai
Yeah.
boxing. But it wasn't sort of in my life the way it is now.
Mhm.
And then I think it was about 3 years ago. So yeah, I saw this photo probably about 10 years ago, and I saw it and I just had a little thought like, I think I could do that one day. And it was just a passing thought. And then years later, I started going to the gym again with my sister. She was sort of started getting into weightlifting.
Mhm.
Um, and I started going with her, and then I just sort of fell in love with it. And then about a year later, I decided, yeah, I'm going to compete. Booked my first show, didn't really know anything. I was just sort of going for it, researched as much as I could. And then, yeah, ended up doing a show 2 weeks before the one I originally booked as like practice to get on stage. Got through to finals, so then it just sort of continued from there.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, that every single day, just my love for it grows more and more. And I think it's taught me so much about myself. The, the depths that you have to go to on prep and the limits that you have to push your body and mind to be able to get it and to sort of have that focus. You can then implement it on so many different areas of your life. And I think, yeah, it was just definitely meant to be. Definitely feel like now this is what I'm meant to be doing. So
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I also kind of have like a similar feeling as far as like athletics in general. I feel like because I was in the reason I was interested in your you said Muay Thai or Thai boxing because I was involved in combat sports too years ago. And you know, now I just kind of just weight lift and you know bodybuild. But one thing that it taught me is kind of like discipline. You know, like it gives you discipline, and then you can that discipline kind of translates to other parts of your life. And I feel like that's something that um, is a huge benefit in sports, even if you don't make it big, right? Even if you don't
yeah,
become some kind of world class, you know, athlete, it still gives you that discipline that allows you to do things even though you don't really want to do them. Like for example, like um, you know, do I want to go to the gym every single day? Like, you know, no, I don't. Like, do I? Sometimes I just don't feel like it, but I go because I'm disciplined, and you know,
yeah,
and you know, that's something to be said about that.
definitely. If you've got discipline, then you don't need motivation. I think
Exactly.
a lot of people when they're searching for, just if it's just in terms of lifestyle plans, they want to find motivation so they can go to the gym. They want to find motivation so they can stick to their diet. If you have discipline, then you don't need motivation because it's get it done no matter what, and it doesn't even cross your mind to not do it. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They become like a machine, which is, you know, exactly what you want if you're an
Yeah,
athlete, right?
yeah,
So,
definitely.
so you start like training, you get into it, you're fully, you know, into fitness and working out. At what point does this become a goes from being a hobby to a more what am I trying to say? Like a way of life as far as like finances and things. Like when do you become a trainer? Like or when do you say, okay, to yourself, now I can start training other people at this point?
Well, I actually, so I mean, after competing last year, I knew that was something that I wanted to do. I was actually in sales when I first started competing and had been in that job for a couple of years.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until lockdown when that happened. I was supposed to start a new job, sort of the second week of lockdown. And then because obviously lockdown happened, they got put on furlough, my contract got retracted. And I thankfully got taken back on for furlough from my old job, but I basically didn't have a job, and it sort of gave me the opportunity to be able to study and train to become a personal trainer, which is what I'd wanted to do for the past couple of years. So although lockdown and this year has been crazy, and a lot of horrible things have happened, I think it's actually really been a blessing in disguise, because I don't think I would be where I am today if it hadn't have been for all this. So I think it gave me the time to study, pass all the exams and stuff for that, and get qualified. And then when the gyms reopened, I was then able to sort of join a gym, and I was doing online coaching. So I started that up during the last lockdown. So I've been helping a few people online. I think with any business, it takes a while to get going. You just got to keep putting yourself out there. One thing I do is just try and give away stuff for free, which is why I wanted to do the online classes, half to help people and half to just put yourself out there. And you want people to be able to trust you before they're going to give you the money to be able to train them, and you can get your own results as well. I think that's very important when it comes to being a personal trainer. Is if you're not in shape and that's not an important part of your life, then people aren't going to pay you for that. So I think it's gradual, but for me, it's still going to be a hobby, because a hobby is just something that you love, and I absolutely love it. So hobby and a career is the best of both.
Yeah. It's you love what you do. It's like it's not a job, right, anymore at that point. So that's interesting that you mentioned about giving stuff away for free. I thought about, like, in the back of my mind, about in the past when I was younger and I was searching for information, right? Like searching for fitness information, things that I didn't know once I started kind of getting into it. And I remember this one particular guy, and he was a coach, and he's real popular now. But he would answer me like my emails and everything with like no charge, no cost, nothing. Just I would ask him questions, he would answer me, and he did it for years. And like I used to send him stuff all the time, and because of that, I'm much more willing to spend money on his, on whatever he's promoting and whatever he's offering than like anyone else. And I think that goes a long way, because sometimes people will want to start charging immediately, and it's like, well, like, why am I going to pay you? I don't even know if you have anything that's worthwhile. So but when you start offering those things for free, and people are like, oh, this is not only, is this good information, but this person's willing to, give it to me, at no charge, then you develop that relationship, not necessarily personal, but just that interaction between you and your fans. And then they're willing to, give up their money for something that you offer later.
A huge part of being a personal trainer and an online coach is, you're there to help people, and it's, you're there to serve and to help them, and so they will always come first. So, when they announced lockdown again, I had one day where I was just like, obviously, because we just locked the gyms shut down, then we'd come back, and then lockdown got announced again. I had one day where I was just like down. I was just really feeling it, but then I just thought, like, I've got to be there for my clients. Like, I've got to think about how I can help them through this time, and not necessarily how can I help myself. It's putting them first. And I think that's the most important thing about being a trainer or a coach, is your clients will come first, as it should be with any business.
Yeah, definitely. So just to kind of wrap this up, if somebody wanted to like hire you or get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that? And I will tag this in the video as well, but why don't you go ahead and kind of plug your stuff in as well?
Yeah. So on Instagram, that's where sort of most of my content is. I've got my own profile, which is at Bethanjaneharris, or my business profile, which is at Personal Best Coaching. So yeah, that's probably the best way to contact me.
Awesome. And you do nutrition as well, or just training?
Yeah. So it'd be like online coaching is like nutrition, training, weekly check-ins, things like that. And then obviously that personal training is one-to-one. But yeah, I have lifestyle clients. I have like clients who compete as well, who are looking to compete next year. That's probably the route that I'll want to go down ultimately with coaching. Is coaching of the competitors and things like
Competitors.
that.
Yeah, you're gonna be a guru. You're gonna be a
Hopefully one day.
so do you mostly coach women, I assume, or do you men as well?
Yeah, I do both, but a majority is women. I think women
Gotcha.
tend to go for women trainers, and men normally tend to go for men. But I like to coach both. I think guys tend to, you can push them in the gym a bit further, so I like to see guys. But yeah, it's all good.
They don't start like, you don't make the guys cry, do you, when you train them?
No, not just a
Just
much.
that's funny. So hopefully December 2nd, right? You said the gyms are reopening
Yeah,
in
fingers crossed. That's when the national lockdown ends. There's actually going to be a debate. I got an email through today from the petition. I think there's like about 600,000 signatures that have been for this petition. That's going to get debated in Parliament next week to see if, even if the lockdown did get extended, hopefully gyms could be classed as an essential, and then we'd be allowed to stay open for the winter months, because over here trying to exercise outside, it's not great.
No good. No good. I'm no stranger to cold because I was born in Russia and
Oh
Soviet
wow.
Union. So, however, I would not want to be like working out in the cold outside.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, hey, Bethan, I appreciate you coming on the show. Very nice of you to take out the time out of your day to do that. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again. You take care. Have a great day.
Cheers, you too. Bye bye.
Bye.